Hey everybody, welcome to Old Roommates. This week on the show, we revisit choice selections of Schoolhouse Rock. So take a moment, make sure your electricity is working, and get ready for this all-new episode.
Welcome, everyone, to Old Roommates, the only podcast that revisits pop culture through a middle-aged lens. This is Christina.
And this is Brian.
And yes, you know what? It's the end of the school year, and we thought we would revisit Schoolhouse Rock so that we could extend your learning through the summer months. We are going to start this episode, as we always do, by talking about our, first recollections of these little tidbits of knowledge. Brian, what is your history with Schoolhouse Rock?
Yes, I used to love Schoolhouse Rock. It used to be, every single one was like an earworm. They were so instantly memorable, like the music, the tone, the voices, conjunction, they're a lot of them, so many of them are earworms, and I just always liked them. I wish I could say, and I totally remember what they taught me, but like there was, as a kid, like what a great way to learn through music, and I looked forward to them, watching Saturday morning cartoons and stuff like that, but I just thought of them fondly. When we talked about doing this, I was like, oh, that's great, but how would we find them? But Disney Plus actually has them. So that worked out. And but how about you? Your past history with Schoolhouse Rock, Christina?
Thank you for finally asking.
Oh.
So, very similar. I remember Schoolhouse Rock, Saturday morning cartoons.
Yeah. Huge
deal in our house. Wake up early, throw on that TV, sit in front of it for like hours, it feels like, right? And yeah, remembering Schoolhouse Rock as these little snippets in between our shows. I agree with you. I felt like they were so fun. Some of them were so interesting to watch. Like I could remember the cartoons and what happened and earworms and all that. Yeah. Like I feel like when I hear conjunction, the word conjunction, I think conjunction. I mean, we're talking about 50 years later.
Right, but does it, only because you're going into now a little bit, but it's like, but did it really help you? Do you remember like what the conjunctions?
So I remembered a few things. So yes, and we can talk about that in the now. Yeah. But I felt back then, like I was learning so much.
Yeah, same.
Right? Yeah. And I also felt like there were some that were just played all the time.
Yeah.
So we can talk about now.
Let's jump into now.
Yeah, so when did you... We both loved it. We both felt like we learned, and the earworms still stuck with us.
And now, decades later. When did you rewatch these select choices of Schoolhouse Rock?
I rewatched this probably, I don't know, maybe a week ago.
Oh, okay.
And I wanted to watch it I made Emily sit and watch it with me because, Emily is my 15-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
And so... obviously, she knows a lot about the stuff that is in the Schoolhouse Rock, but she'd never seen Schoolhouse Rock.
Yeah.
So I said, I just really want her opinion on it. I want to know what she's thinking about it and if it makes sense to her or whatever. So I watched it about a week ago. What about you?
So it was funny. So on was it Friday night or Thursday night? I was introducing Carl to, because Carl, my husband, is from Germany, so they didn't get Schoolhouse Rock. But he had heard of it, and so I showed him a few episodes. And then yesterday, I spent multiple hours with Schoolhouse Rock and watching them multiple times, a lot of them. Wow. And and so it's all very fresh in my mind.
Great.
The first one we revisited.
Yeah, so before we begin, something I realized as an adult watching this, I hadn't realized that there were actually seasons of Schoolhouse Rock. Yeah. And I don't know if anybody out there actually knows this. And they all had specific themes.
Yes.
Which blew my mind again. Totally. I was like, what? I just thought it was like school.
Yeah.
So season 1, just to kind of give a little recap. Season 1 is called Multiplication Rock. And I forget how many episodes. I think there were like 11 or something like that, like 10 maybe.
Yeah, I think you have 10
episodes of each until the later years. But I'll get into that in a minute. So season 1 was Multiplication Rock. Season 2 was Grammar Rock.
Mm-hmm.
Season 3 was American Rock, or America Rock.
Yeah.
And season 4 was Science Rock. So those are the ones that were from the 70s.
Yes.
From 1970-ish. I don't know what it is. So then later, in I believe it was the 90s, they came up with 2 more seasons. So season 5 was Computer Rock.
Mm-hmm.
And then season 6 is Money Rock.
Oh, interesting.
Yes. And each of those I noticed, and these are all on Disney Plus, as you mentioned. Those 2 seasons I noticed there's like 4 episodes in each.
Okay.
So I don't know how well they took off, or even when they would play them, because this used to be sort of like snippets in between Saturday morning cartoons. So I don't know where they would play these.
That's a good point.
But anyway, so that's that. That was something that I had no idea about. No idea at all. But go on, please.
So the first thing we revisited was Justabill. And this is...
that is not the order in which I did. I did it in order of the seasons.
Whoops, I did not. So what did you start with?
So I started with season 2. So we didn't have anything from Multiplication Rock.
I know. I don't remember. We did it almost by memory.
Yes. We were looking at them and we're like, okay, well, what about this? And there were a few that obviously were like, oh, Justabill and Conjunction Function and Interplanet Janet and like all these things that like some of them really, really popped out. And then some of them like you remembered and I had fuzziness and things like that. So we didn't remember anything from Multiplication Rock.
Also, if you're joining us for the first time ever, part of this, the whole point of this podcast is to revisit things and rewatch them. So if neither of us remembered it, we didn't do it.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
So
we had to at least have some sort of inkling.
Right.
So we didn't have anything from season 1 at all.
No.
So, which was interesting, Multiplication Rock.
Yeah.
I watched them in order of the seasons. So the first one I did was season 2, episode 1, which was a noun as a person, place, or thing.
Yes.
But it doesn't make a difference to me, really.
No, let's go by the season. As long as you don't miss any, yeah.
All right. A noun is a person, place, or thing, Brian.
So if we're starting there, this was a sort of I remember it being more fun as a kid. Mm-hmm. But the stories kept going. At one point, in my mind, I remember these being a minute long.
Same.
They're actually 3 to 4 minutes long. And that doesn't sound like a lot of time. But when it's not quite a great experience, it can be a bit much. And a noun as a person, place, or thing, for me was like, I totally got it.
From the beginning.
From the beginning. Like, the second story with the crazy woman and the dog and all that, it's like, that probably could have ended there and it would have been just fine. Mm-hmm. But it kept going and going. I think there are 4 or 5 stories.
I think you're right.
And also the girl, it's just also not very upbeat. It's like, the girl doesn't seem to have very much luck. She's like being, there's barking dogs. They get snowed on during a summer stroll. Uh-huh. She's on a train. The train gets chased by bandits. Like, it was interesting when I get it. Like, they're trying to get kids to learn in some action-packed ways. But I'm like, we get it. They're nouns. Mm-hmm. Like, it was just a lot. I did laugh, though, when she had the bone, and she had the bone in her mouth. That was cute. Yeah.
Yeah. So this being the first one I watched, I might have had a different take on it. I didn't find it to be too bad. I did write it's a lot longer than I remembered it to be. I do think it went on a little bit too much. But I liked the song, and I liked that chorus part. Every person you may know, every place that you may go. Like, I liked the song.
Anything that you may show. Yeah.
It is a noun. Yeah. It is a noun. Yeah. So I liked that.
Yeah.
So the storylines, you're right. There were way too many stories. Yeah. But then when it went back to that, I was like, oh, okay, good. That's like, I was kind of like bouncing along to it and finding. And then it kind of pulled together. But yes, it could have been shorter.
Yeah.
For sure. But I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Did you think it was a little weird when she jumped into the guy's arms?
Yeah. So a lot of these like 70s things are a little bit interesting to look at it in our
middle-aged lens, because I was led to believe she was a young girl.
Yes.
But then at one point, it's like, oh no, she seems to be like a teenager or like a young adult, right?
Yeah.
Because she's like jumping, and it seems very like flirtatious.
Yes, that's a good word for it. Yes, agreed. Yes.
But yeah, so I kind of have to say, like, you know, not a fan of a noun.
Yeah.
As a person, place, or thing. What's next?
So next was season 2, episode 3. Conjunction, junction, what's your function?
I'm gonna get you there if you're very careful. A line, a lyric that I don't know what that means. What does that mean, Christina?
I don't know either. I don't know. I've discovered when I started watching these that I only knew the first lines of a lot of these songs. And I'm like, oh wow, is that what they said? Oh wow, what's that? What are they trying to say?
Yeah.
This one I knew a little bit more of than others, but yeah, the whole like the and, but, or you know, it was an interesting.
It was very repetitive.
It was very, very repetitive,
yes.
and that's sort of a common theme.
Same.
And I think that the noun one, that's why I didn't mind it as much, because I felt like
kept changing.
It changed back and forth. It wasn't quite as repetitive, but this one was pretty repetitive. And again, it was very long, not as catchy as that first, in terms of learning. It wasn't as catchy as the noun one. Like the noun one, I learned what a noun was.
Yeah.
No question what a noun was. But in this one, it was like, huh? What's a conjunction again?
It doesn't help, and this is a note. They have these weird, or I shouldn't say weird, these different kinds of voices.
Uh-huh.
I have a similar note about electricity. It's like, because you're trying to learn, but they're character voices, and you're like to your point, it's like, oh wait, what does it mean? What is it? Like, and as say this is a 51-year-old, you know, person.
Right.
Like, and I'm not sure a child
is saying, I can't learn from this, right? Like, that's not they're saying they want to be entertained. So I think that's probably where they were coming from. Like, oh, if we do this in character voices, then the kids will learn without really realizing they're learning. Mm-hmm. Whereas we have a totally different way of feeling about that.
But here's the thing. It's like, to that point, what we talked about were these earworms, right?
Yes.
So it's like, you can't get an earworm, I think, without being super repetitive.
Yes.
Because this has stayed with me for decades. This Conjunction Junction song.
I think most people, if you mention Schoolhouse Rock, they'll say this.
Conjunction, yeah.
And they'll say, I'm a bill. I'm just a bill.
Yeah, yeah.
I think those are the two things.
There was a funny thing, but I don't understand that line. At the end, he's like, and he says it like 10 times. I'm gonna get you there if you're very careful. I don't know what that means. He's obviously a train conductor.
So he's joining two things.
Yeah.
So I guess it's just if you're careful about what you're...
which one you're using.
Yeah, which one you're using. If it's going to be and, but...
Yeah. And then, did you notice, there's a whole scene where there's a woman tied up on train tracks, and he puts the sign to the train on go. Like, I was like... That's weird. And then the woman gets up and runs and screams. But it's like that. I guess maybe that's what he means. Like, if you use the wrong conjunction, you could hurt somebody.
Yeah.
Bit dramatic.
Very dramatic. But I remembered the cartoon, and I remembered the beginning part of the song, but I didn't really. I mean, I remembered eventually, like, the lesson.
Yeah. But
it didn't stay with me so much. I don't think in elementary school I was like, oh yeah, this was the woman on the railroad tracks.
Same. And I do think, though, like, as I was watching, listening to them, like, they must have had so much fun singing these songs.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
the people behind the scenes.
For
like,
sure.
That is just that conjunction, junction. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's fun. So, all right. So I think I don't know if we're doing like a yes or no or a good or a bad.
How about a scale from 1 to 5?
Okay. So for a noun,
1 being
bad,
5 being
amazing.
Great. Yeah.
So the noun one, I think I'm probably going to give a 3.
Okay.
Conjunction, junction, to be honest, I might give it 2. As memorable as the song is, it was very repetitive.
I think the noun one I would give a 4, like a 4.5. Because I really did like it. It was just too long. And then the conjunction, junction, I would probably give a 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I liked the song, I liked the animation, but not so much the lesson.
Well, of course, if we're talking about school, we should give A through F.
Oh my God, you're right. Oh my God, we're so stupid. Do they do that now? I don't even know if they do that kind of stuff. All right, we're old school, so we're gonna do A through F.
All right, so a noun, I think I would give a C. I think conjunction, I'd probably give a C minus.
Okay, I would give a B plus.
Okay.
Oh my God, I can't believe. Thank God we remember this now.
You're a teacher.
I know. Well, preschool, we don't do grades. God. So yeah, okay. So a noun, I would do B plus, and then conjunction junction, I would give a C.
Cool.
So I'll see. All right. So our next on the list is episode 3. Season 3. We're moving on to season 3. Yeah. Episode 3, and it's the preamble.
Yes.
Okay. So we're into American history, apparently. And my first thought was there is so much talking. Mm-hmm. Just so much talking. I don't know how. I probably could get a little bit from it as an adult. I don't know how any child would get anything from this.
Absolutely not.
There's way too much.
Yeah. I also felt it's, and it was a similar note for some of the other ones. It's like, I find that the part that's most important is like the most rushed. Mm-hmm. Almost like we have to do this really fast because we're going to lose the kids' interest.
Right.
I don't know. And like, I think the preamble, it's like, I know what the preamble is. I could probably still recite it. And like, I don't know if I could have learned that from that
right.
Schoolhouse Rock.
I agree. I agree. It was a huge lead up to it. Mm-hmm. And then it was like, and here it is. And then there was even more after it. And it was like, but what about the actual preamble? Yeah. Like, it was just a little bit strange. I do remember a lot of the video, like the voting booth and stuff like that.
And
like
the guns turning into flowers.
And the guns turning into flowers.
All of that.
Like all of that stuff I remembered. I remembered it fondly. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't even think I can, right now, I don't think I can actually sing the song of the preamble.
No.
I feel like it was just mostly talking.
It was. And I also like, you know, the little girl couldn't vote. She couldn't put the ballot in the box, like back in the 1787.
Right.
Now she can't vote because she's too little and all that. It was just interesting, though, that, like, the only thing I'll say through my middle-aged lens is that it's funny because the men were the ones that wrote this Constitution and the preamble. And yet it's the men who can't hold their shit together in the same video. They're like shooting each other. There's an umpire screaming at a coach.
Very
and it's
interesting.
Like, is it? I don't know.
I didn't even make that observation, but now that you're talking about it, that's a really great observation.
Yeah, because it's like, oh wait, the men are the ones that made these rules, and they're the ones that can't even follow them. Yeah. Like, it's just kind of weird. And then the two young girls in different time frames really want to vote, and it's just, I don't know. Would not have even occurred to me as a kid. But now it's all I see.
Yeah. That's interesting. Really interesting.
Yeah.
So my grade for this is like a D.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
I don't even think they should have even attempted this.
No, it was just too much. It was too much. Yeah, I mean,
they should have done like a follow the bouncing ball kind of thing. I mean, do something.
They should have done something different.
The whole point of this is the preamble, and again, like you're saying too, and it's like it's just kind of said, and you're not really. It's hard to follow. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because there are some subject matters that can be relayed in a song quickly. You could do it for like a minute, and they take 3.5 minutes to do it. And then something like this, there was way too much information for 3 minutes.
Yeah.
So they could have cut back on the information. I wouldn't suggest making it longer, but, cutting back on the information would probably be best. All right.
So sorry, preamble.
Yeah, preamble. He's not failing. But maybe a D- for me, actually. Pretty close to failing. Okay, so our next episode was season 3. Mm-hmm. Episode 5, the one everybody remembers. I'm just a bill.
Yes.
Sitting here on Capitol Hill.
Do you want to know one of my first notes?
Tell me.
I remember Bill being cuter.
Oh, interesting.
I remember being so like adorable. And he's kind of miserable.
Well,
it's a little downbeat.
He's very
that's the point.
He was sad, because it took him so long to get pass into a law.
Yep.
But I remember him very clearly. I remembered almost everything about this little video, this 3-minute video. I think this is the one that resonated with me most. Like, I think I learned the most out of this.
Really?
One particular Schoolhouse Rock.
Okay.
Because I think it just interested me. I liked this little Bill. I wanted to figure out his story.
Right.
It was like a little storyline, and he was great at explaining things. It wasn't over my head. It was very clear. And then you just felt bad for him, and you're like, oh my God, no wonder he's so sad. And then you feel so great that he becomes a law at the end. Mm-hmm. But it really, I thought it did a really nice job talking about the journey that it has to go on. And it didn't have a lot of fluff surrounding it.
Fine. But don't you think, like, there's that point, though, where it's like, and then I go to the House of Representatives, and if they all vote yes for me, then I go to the Senate. And it's like, I feel like that's kind of a big jump, and it's super rushed. It doesn't really say, it says, it could die in committee. And the kid even says, die. Yeah. So there's just certain terms that are not explained.
That's true.
And I will say, I do, and I wrote just a bit downbeat. I wrote, I love the gist of this, but they could have explained a bit more. And again, it's that thing where it's like, they do that thing where it's like, I'm just a bill, no. But they do it at least 4 times in 3 minutes. Yeah. And it's like, maybe if they held back one of those choruses, just explain a little tiny bit more.
I guess, but I think that's one of the reasons why I remembered it.
Yeah.
Was because there wasn't a lot of, we're coming off of preamble, which they wanted to friggin' throw an entire history book in 3 minutes. And then I felt like it was the appropriate amount of information for someone who is a child. Yeah. Trying to learn the gist of it. That's really what these should be about. Just the gist of it. We don't need to know the ins and outs and exactly everything that happened, but just the idea of it. Because we're not going to be tested on it later.
Yeah. I did write, I love the gist of this.
Oh.
That was
very nice.
But it's,
what did I write here?
But
because I wrote, most bills don't make it this far.
Yeah.
And it says, then I will die.
Yes. Yeah.
I did write that.
But also then at one point he says, and if the president vetoes, then I go back to Congress. Yeah. And then the kid says, well, then it's unlikely you'll ever become a law. Yeah. And he's like, that's right. But it's... I don't know. I understand. Maybe I clearly am no longer the target audience, but I just feel like you'll die, like that kind of thing. It's like, what does that mean? It's a little bit more. I don't know.
But he is just a piece of paper.
Did you like the example that they used for the law or the bill? Oh, school bus must stop at railroad tracks.
Yeah, I did. I did like that one. Yeah, I'm glad it passed.
Yeah,
but right. Yeah, I really liked. I enjoyed this.
What would you give it for a grade?
I think I will give it, I don't know, dare I say an A?
Wow.
Yeah, I think I will give it an A.
I think I'd give it a B.
Yeah.
Maybe B minus.
I think I'll give it an A. Not an A plus.
No.
Because of the word die.
What's next on your list?
Our next is Season 3, Episode 11. I'm going to send your vote to college. So this was a rough one for me. I just wrote, this is still as confusing as ever.
Christina, I literally wrote, get rid of it.
Yeah.
And I mean the electoral college and this video.
Yep.
Because...
it doesn't make... we can have a whole conversation about that.
No, and it has nothing to do with any recent elections. It really doesn't. Because if you watch this on Disney Plus, I'm going to send your vote to college. I wrote, this sounds, and again, middle-aged, this sounds so confusing and dumb. And it doesn't help that the music they use is like Mardi Gras. It's right. Like, it sounds like it's like a parade music. Yep. That they're marching down the street at Mardi Gras. And I wondered if this was almost like very intentional from the makers, meaning that they weren't in support of the electoral college. Because they make it sound like a circus. It's like...
well, it kind of is.
I know. And they're using words like speculate the popular vote. And what I also don't like, and it's really interesting because it's like, you know, I will tie in current modern times through a middle-aged lens, but even this little 3-minute video, it lays out red states and blue states and all this kind of stuff. And if you're a kid, I can't believe they're doing... I don't know if a kid needs to see that.
I don't know that I ever cared that much about the red and blue states. I don't think it didn't resonate with me at all that we were against, you know, the red is against the blue and the blue is against... It didn't resonate. Just, I felt like it was just sort of mapping it out somehow. Yeah. It didn't seem like they were two opposite things. Yeah. It didn't seem like that to me.
And it even... Right, yeah. Well, to me, it bothered me as an adult. Because I was like, if I had a kid watching this and they're like, what? Why are some red and when some...
Well, and I think that's a great point. Because now I feel like there's a lot more conversation. Like if we were watching this now with our children, they are more apt to ask questions and we are more apt to try to explain it. Yeah. Back in the 70s, when I was watching this, my mother was doing something else, cleaning the house or making breakfast or something, very 70s wife-ish. My father was, God knows, I have no idea. So we are sitting there in front of the TV with no one to ask questions and no one to answer questions. Yeah. We were this is just our information that was coming into our heads. So I think watching it now would be a completely different situation. I feel like there would be a lot more explaining to do. And then, yes, you would have to explain like, okay, red means this and blue means this. And it would be a little bit more leaning towards a certain way. Yeah. So
it also sets it, I completely agree. It also sets itself up in the very beginning that it's like not a real school. There's no students. But if you graduate, you're president. Like, it's a little confusing. I think this was a really not great one. And if you do understand it, it's almost infuriating. And this is, to me, it's a big D. Yeah. Oh, God. Christina, stop it. Pull yourself together.
I love that we both realized that. So, yeah, for me, I think it was sad to me that they're trying to simplify it. And this should speak to the entire process. They're trying to simplify it to tell a young child what this is about. And it's ridiculously confusing. Even dumbing it down, it's still completely confusing. So what does that say about the whole process, right?
Well, I wrote that. It sounds confusing and it sounds dumb. Yeah. Like, it's like there's no real... It didn't even do a good job explaining why it even exists. Right. Like, it really doesn't. And the whole thing about... So there's a character, the guy that wins president, has like a single strand. He's bald. He has a single strand of hair on his head. And it says, even if the person wins by hair in the popular vote, a kid's not going to even understand what the hell you're talking about. That doesn't make...
And now what is a popular vote? Yeah.
And he goes, the other one wins all the votes. And they pluck the hair. And it's like, oh my God, like that. And I just have to wonder the point of view of the people making this, because it sounds like they're not in support, and I don't blame them, that they're not in support of the Electoral College because they're making it dumb. Yeah. It's weird.
It would be interesting to find out who actually made this, because I speak again also was the preamble one. Yeah. When you're talking about how like the men are all fighting and the women are kind of like
guns
the ones that are.
Yep. Like, the women are like, the women are the ones voting.
Yes. So, it's an interesting point. Yeah. All right. So for me, I'm going to say actually a D-. Wow. Like, this is not a good one. All right. So we're on to season 4. And our first, season 4, remember, is Science Rock. Yeah. And this is episode 2, Interplanet Janet. She is a galaxy girl, that one.
Okay.
Yeah, you can start.
I loved it.
Okay.
I'm going to, spoiler alert, I'm going to give it an A.
Wowza!
I loved the singing. I loved the little story. I loved Janet. Did it make much sense? No. But I love that it's like, like this whole part where she goes to the sun, and it's like, the sun, it's a hot spot. It's a gas, and it's like hydrogen, helium. Yeah. I love that because the sun is a star, she got the sun's autograph.
Yeah, I love that. That was really funny.
I just thought this was really pretty. I thought this was like it's like the singer, the vocalist. I'm pretty sure it's the same singer as the noun.
Yeah,
right?
I think so too.
And, but it sounds really nice. It's definitely my favorite of all the ones we revisited. I think it's, and then the only thing, again, is that same note. Is it again, maybe one less chorus of interplanet, Janet, she's a galaxy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe a little more time with some of the other planets.
Well, that was my big criticism.
Because it's like, at one point, I think she said like, first of all, she says, Uranus. Did you notice that? She doesn't say Uranus.
Yeah.
And there's another one where she's, I think it's Jupiter. She's like, Jupiter is big. I'm like, really?
And then the other ones, it's twin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a little odd.
So, yes, that was my big note. So, I also liked it. I liked the energy of it.
Yeah.
I liked the character. I liked the singing. I liked the song. It was very catchy. It was fun. It definitely felt like it was more of a cartoon that a child is watching and not a history lesson.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
well, she's a character.
And now,
yeah.
I mean, and to be fair, science is a lot more fun to learn, right? I mean, there's the experiments and it's more hands-on type of stuff as opposed to the preamble, the Constitution. That kind of stuff is pretty dry for a child.
Yeah.
Science is more like hands-on, earth, fun, space, ocean, land. Like that kind of stuff is much more fun for a kid anyway. But I felt like the whole overall tone was exciting and fun and interesting. You liked Janet, and I feel like whoever was writing the song had a lot of fun with it. Like you said, with little puns and having fun with it.
Yeah.
Is it something that anyone's learning from? I don't think so. I mean, maybe the son. But to your point, like, so what we were saying before is first, and this is, I got a little bit nervous because now this is the sixth one that I've watched. And I'm like, oh God, this is going to be another one of those really long videos. And this is before I looked up the timing and all of it. Because the first, when she talks about the sun.
For a while.
It's a paragraph, if you will, right? Then she talks about Mercury. And there was also a paragraph talking all about Mercury. And then she gets to Earth. And Earth and I'm like, oh my God, is she going to do this with all of the planets? I'm like, this is going to be a long freaking video. And then Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, however, Pluto, all of that is glossed over completely.
Fast.
If they're lucky, I mean, Pluto had like a couple of sentences, but all the other ones, I think, just had like
a word
or a little slight mention. So I don't know why Sun, Mercury, and Earth had big billing. I mean, I guess I get the sun and the earth.
Well, I think it's because they're just
Mercury,
closest.
like, where's Mercury?
They're just like the closest to us.
Whatever,
I don't
anyway.
know.
But anyway, so I just thought that was interesting how that worked out. But it worked a bit better for me because I was so nervous it was going to be super duper long.
To me, even if it just like, to me, it felt very inspiring. So I was like, if this inspires a kid to learn more about the planets, then that's great. What would you give it? I gave it an A, easily.
I would give it a B+.
Okay.
A B+. And I wrote, there's not a lot of learning here on the other planets. So that's the whole thing.
I don't disagree at all. And yet I think for, I don't know, for me, it was very entertaining. I learned a tiny bit. I think it is sort of that inspiring science, like, learn more. Janet's a character. It's easier to digest.
Yeah.
So,
but again, it's kind of what we want it to be, right? We want it to be this way. A little bit of learning. We're not going to shove everything down. Like if this was the preamble or the electoral college, she would have gone into a lot more detail about the other planets. Right? So yeah, I think it was great. I really do think it was great. I gave it like a B+.
Cool.
Okay, season 4, episode 3 is The Body Machine. And it talks about digestion. And for this one, I remembered it to being so much more entertaining.
I thought the girl was so cute.
The girl was cute. But I remembered, and maybe I have it confused with something else, but I remembered a little bit more in terms of what was happening inside the body.
See, I thought they did a good job with that.
I think they did a good job, but my memory of it was I felt like there was a little bit more going on.
Okay.
But yeah, it was fun. It was a little bit boring from my middle-aged lens, but I could see it being a little bit more appropriate for a child.
Mine was that I felt like they were making this and they were worried it was going to be boring. So they have there's horns, beep, blaring, brakes screeching, fast talking. There's an opera singer that's singing. There's a weightlifter grunting. It's like they just filled it with, Because what their point was is like we're machines.
We're
Like
machines.
essentially,
We're all
our
machines,
bodies
yeah.
are machines, and so we all have this machine living inside us that's is processing food and all that. I liked it. I just wish it wasn't so damn noisy.
Yeah,
I wish they
very noisy.
I wish they just trusted the material.
If they
more.
just talked about us as being a car,
Mm-hmm.
because even like I really liked how the bus driver is the mouth.
Yes,
and he's like, move. How do you say? He says, move to the rear of the mouth.
Yeah.
Move to the rear of the mouth. Like that would have been a fine concept, just the way it was.
Mm-hmm,
like we are like a car.
Yeah.
We didn't need to be about every single machine. Because, I mean, what kid knows about how every machine works?
Right.
Right? Like, we know how a car works.
Right.
We give it gas, and it goes.
And they do talk about fuel.
And I did like how they talked about...
Yeah.
I liked how they talked about the fuel. I liked how they talked about the different parts of the sandwich.
I loved that.
Yeah. The different parts of the sandwich.
Like protein, carbs,
and they all work together and everything else. I really, really liked that. And how it turned into fuel and helped us to do all that stuff. So, yeah, I thought it was good. I remembered it as being a little bit more entertaining. And maybe that's just now I find it less entertaining because I'm an adult.
Yeah.
And I found it more entertaining as a child.
So what would you give it for a grade?
I'd give it like a B+.
I think I would give it maybe a B- because of the noisiness.
Yeah.
It just wasn't necessary.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's funny. I think about it in different ways. I'm giving it a B+ in terms of the learning.
Okay.
And then as far as like the entertainment, maybe a B+ is too high for the entertainment aspect of it. Maybe just a solid B, maybe, for the entertainment part of it. But yeah, when you said I was thinking of the learning B+. Because that's really what it's about. It's supposed to be Schoolhouse Rock.
I understand. But I think like...
And I don't know if any of these are actually rock music, by the way.
No, no.
It's all country.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Okay, so... last one of these, and then we have two extra things to talk about as well. We'll leave that as a little bit of a surprise. So we have season 4, episode 7, Electricity, Electricity.
Electricity, electricity. Not to be confused with Conjunction, Junction. What's your... I mean, they're so very similar.
Except... Conjunction Junction actually had words aside from electricity, electricity. This one, oh my lordy lord.
Oh,
enough already with the electricity, electricity. It was like electricity, electricity, or whatever. Now I'm saying Conjunction Junction.
Electricity.
This is how it goes.
Yeah.
Electricity.
Oh my god. Yeah, they would truly say like four words. They were like,
and this is how it goes.
the water boils because electricity, electricity. Benjamin Franklin flew a kite. It's like, oh god damn.
3 minutes of this. 3 minutes. They probably said those electricity the exact same way. 50 times?
Oh my god, Christina.
And that's probably a gift.
Very repetitive.
It was way too much. The first line, I said, okay, I get it. My second line I wrote, please make it stop.
Christina, how about this? So the crux of this is true because I'm sitting there going, they are gonna talk about how we generate electricity, right? And here it is, and it is said in lightning speed. I won't even be able to say it as fast as they said it. A generator is a machine that contains a powerful magnet that creates a magnetic field. When wires are rotated rapidly through this field, the current of electricity is produced. If we could just get a superhero to turn the thing as fast as possible, we wouldn't need to use so many resources to get electricity. I was like, Jesus
it's
God!
Like, please just spread out the learning a little bit.
It is read so fast. I think the guy at one point actually like chuckles.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm like, no one is going to get that. No one's understanding it.
It was like, it was just really poorly composed, I think.
And then the poor sheep.
Gets
electrocuted. The guy is like rubbing his feet on the rug.
Electricity. So I did the one thing, and this is one of those videos, I did feel like, oh, this is another one of those, they might have an agenda. Because
yes.
it said, if only, you said this really fast,
Yeah.
I'll slow it down.
Oh, okay.
If only we had a superhero to turn it really fast, we wouldn't have to burn so much fuel.
That's right.
And that is, to me, a very big statement.
Yeah.
So I think I would be very interested to find out who composed these things, who wrote these things, because I do feel like there was a bit of an agenda here.
Totally. I think it was good.
Yeah.
And they were talking about this in the 70s. And
Yes.
so like and they said like the power plants use fire, and they almost made fire a bit of an enemy. Like the way they kind of presented fire was almost in a negative way. There was definitely an agenda here. Unfortunately, it was so repetitive, and noisy.
And what I think is really interesting is this is not one of those earworms that I kept with me for 50 years.
Oh, for me it was.
So I'm to Junction, into the Planet Janet, all, like those, yes. But this is not something that I kept in my head a lot. So I don't know if I just turned against it because I was bored with it or what. Or maybe it was too similar to Conjunction Junction.
Yeah.
But for some reason, it did not stick with me as much.
So, what would you give electricity?
Can I give it an F? I feel like it failed. It was not entertaining to me. And I didn't learn anything from it because the learning part of it was so quick. And as a child, I'm not talking about now.
Okay.
So I'm gonna say an F.
Holy crap!
Yeah, I know. It really turned me against electricity.
I guess for me, my grade for electricity.
And listeners, please know this is like a fraction of what this actual.
Yeah, we were taking
is.
it easy on you. Go watch the video on Disney Plus for electricity.
But what's your grade, Ryan?
Oh my god, I would. I'll be honest. I think I would give it probably a C-. I didn't hate it.
You liked it better than me.
I think because of the agenda part, it was like, at least it's talking. Like, here's why. It's one thing to talk about how we're creating electricity, but they are actually going a step further, saying this is not the best. This is probably not a great thing. When all is said and done, but this is how we get it. Right. And I think a weaker moment would have just been like, this is how we get it, isn't it great? Like, and kind of blind, like kind of sort of.
But they glossed over it so much that the learning wasn't there.
Here's the thing. I think, it's not like these are a bunch of artists and animators sitting there and going, let's just do this. They have probably so many people to please, and that they probably had like some legal concerns. Like, you can't say our electric companies are bad for the environment.
Yeah, the sponsors.
You can't say, you can't say that. You can't say this. You can't say that. So it's like, if you say it, you need to say it really fast. But I just think the slowing down of how electricity is made, absolutely.
That's all. I'm not talking about the agenda part of it. I'm talking about how the actual electricity is made.
You know what, Christina? I'm changing my grade. I'm going to give it a D.
Wow.
Yeah, from a C- to a D. Yeah.
Take that. Electricity.
And now, folks, we have a special treat.
Yes, we do.
Because
a couple of special treats, if
we sure
you will.
do. So through our middle-aged lens, I was very confused, and because I remembered hanker for a hunk of cheese, with that little guy, and I couldn't find it for the life. And we were Googling it. Christina and I were Googling, where is it? Where is it? But apparently it's called Time for Timer.
Yeah, it's not part of Schoolhouse Rock.
It's not part of Schoolhouse Rock. And it's, for the unfamiliar, it's, when my 10-gallon hat is feeling 5 gallons flat, I hanker for a hunk of cheese. So, hanker for a hunk of cheese is one of my all-time favorites.
Yes,
so we decided to add this to the mix.
Yes.
And let's talk about hanker for a hunk of cheese. Christina?
Yes. So this was probably my favorite little doodad ad thing during my watching of the Saturday morning cartoons.
Yeah.
This guy was hilarious to me.
Mm-hmm.
He was cute. He was funny. I loved the song. And then it made me want to go out and make myself a wagon wheel.
So,
he made it seem so easy.
What is the wagon wheel, Christina?
It's a hunk of cheese and crackers. 2 crackers.
Fascinating. You knew they were crackers?
They looked like crackers to me. What did you think
Really?
they
Just
were?
red circles? I thought they were tomatoes at first.
Tomatoes? That would have been more healthy. How would you eat that, though?
It would be messy.
Yeah.
Well, how about
or
this?
maybe
He
salami.
he's like, here's a great snack. He doesn't even give you the recipe.
No, I know. I did write that. I said, where? I said, where is he? No, sorry. I said, what is he? Is he cheese?
Right.
Because that's unclear about what he is. If he's cheese, why is he telling people to eat him?
I don't think he's not cheese.
But he looked like he's a big round
Ball.
piece of something, and then with a
Skinny
cowboy
legs
hat.
and,
But I said, what is he? Is he cheese? And does he even give instructions? So he doesn't give any instructions. He doesn't really give a recipe or anything.
I was like, what the fuck are those orange things? Like, he truly says, here's a great recipe. Here's a great snack. And they were, wow, this is really quite the recipe. He doesn't even tell you what it is. He doesn't tell you what kind of cheese he's using.
No.
He doesn't tell you what the red things are. I mean, and I did write, are those tomatoes? Or is it round bread? Is it crackers? So that was a big negative for me. But then, some of it's very funny, like, a slab, a slice, or chunka. A snack that is a winner, and yet won't spoil my dinner. Oh my God. And I love it. It's
so good.
It's so catchy.
And my favorite part was when he says he's weak in the knees.
And
He's weak in the knees and the knees shake. I remember that very clearly. Loved.
I loved it as well.
Hanker for a hunk of cheese.
Through our middle-aged lens, you're a mom. I am not a parent.
Yes.
Do you feel, and you're a teacher as well, do you feel that a hunk or a slab of cheese for a child is a great snack?
I'm so glad that you asked me this question.
Okay.
So, as a teacher, I have this class, and we do serve a snack.
Okay.
A couple of hours in. Now we have a class that's called like the extended day class. So they actually go through 2:30.
Mm-hmm.
They have a lunch at around 1:30. And so we have our snack around 10:30, somewhere around there.
Mm-hmm.
So usually we give a protein, a carb, and a fruit.
Okay.
We always need to have something like a piece of cheese. Because if we don't, they are starving in an hour. So if we just do fruit and so if we just do like cereal or fruit or a cracker, then they become completely starving. And this became somewhat of a challenge because halfway through the year, one of our children became dairy sensitive. So we had to stop giving them cheese and yogurt. And they were like super starving, and we're like, we have to get something. We have to get something else. Like they're like little vultures. Like hungry. I need when's lunch? I'm like, it's an hour and a half away.
Yeah.
So we ended up having hummus instead, which tides things over. But yes, I think a piece of cheese is a good little snack.
I'll give you a little peek behind the curtain of my marriage. Carl and I, when we're watching TV, sometimes Carl will go to the kitchen and we'll go each grab a snack. I will grab a bag of like lime chips or something.
Uh-huh.
Carl comes back, I swear to God, with a little mini cutting board with...
Carl is... I want to live with Carl. I want to be... I don't have to be his wife, but I would love to just live with Carl... Because he makes everything special. He's a professional snacker. I'm not even kidding you.
He makes everything special.
Everything is special.
So he'll come up with a little mini cutting board and he'll cut up some meat and some cheese. Mm-hmm. And the funny thing is, I will finish that damn bag of chips, but he will just have the thing of cheese and meat, and that's a snack. And and as you're saying this, I'm like, oh my God, that's kind of true. Like cheese, it stays with you.
Yes.
And it fills you, and it has that, it satiates you.
Yes.
So it's like, it's interesting. I never really considered that until you're talking, and I was like, oh my God, that's what Carl does. Yeah.
Did you learn nothing from that?
Hanker for cheese?
Yeah. His name's Hank, right?
I'm going to be really honest. I think there was a time in our lives where cheese was an enemy. Cholesterol.
Well, and I think it is an enemy to some people still. But, I mean, what can you do?
Like cheese, but anyway. So the grade.
The grade, I think, is going to be an A for me.
And it's an A for me as well.
Yeah.
So then we didn't stop there.
No, we have one more. Oh my God, one more. If you can stand it.
We stayed with Time for Timer. And it's Sunshine.
Which, by the way, you can find these Time for Timers on YouTube.
YouTube, yeah.
They're not on Disney Plus. They weren't anywhere to be found, but you can find very grainy versions of these things.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah. They're very great. Luckily, they're only a minute long.
Yes,
Sunshine on a Stick.
Yes.
And this is, the Sunshine on a Stick is essentially apple juice. He says this. Yeah. Apple juice, lemonade, or pomegranate juice, or... Did you write it down?
I did not.
Or whatever turns you on.
Oh, I did.
Or whatever
turns you on.
Yeah. So you pour it in an ice cube tray. You wrap it with saran wrap. You poke some toothpicks through it. And then boom, you have, quote, a week's supply of healthy afternoon snacks.
Yes.
I would probably have eaten 5 of them in one sitting.
Easily, yes. I remembered this too. I loved the whole visual of just poking the thing through the saran wrap.
Yeah.
I like all of that. Sounded really, really fun. My only criticism of this is he's talking about if you're feeling hungry, here's a quick snack. But it's not a quick snack. You have to make it, and then you have to wait like 3 hours for it to be frozen. So that was my biggest criticism on that. Like, no, you kind of have to plan ahead for this one.
He also talks about that it's not messy for mom. Right?
Oh, God, yeah.
Which I can't imagine that not being messy.
No.
But yeah, he says make a week's supply of a healthy afternoon snack. I mean, now we've looked at juice as like sort of very high carb, very high calorie.
Yes, a lot of sugar.
And a lot of juice is like sometimes 10% juice.
Yes.
So you're allowed to read the labels. I mean, this is through a middle-aged lens. But my last note here is like, cute, but a week's worth?
Yeah, no. I mean, if you're going to have one, maybe. But
the other thing that happens when they pour the juice in the tray, it's one of those, like he pours it. You know what I'm talking about to say, right? He's pouring it in one square, but all of them fill up.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. That doesn't really work in real life because it would have been a mess. I will say what I did. I haven't done it actually in a while. I might do it again. I didn't use an ice cube tray because they're too small. Yeah. They do sell the popsicle molds. But what I did was it's kind of like a middle-aged lens version of Sunshine on a Stick.
Let's hear it.
I would take fresh fruit, so banana, strawberries, blueberries or whatever, and just stick it like in a blender and not add anything else. And then pour that into the molds and freeze that. So it's just eating a piece of fruit.
Nice.
Yeah, so rather than get a juice.
Yeah.
And it was very tasty.
Nice.
Very tasty.
I froze grapes recently. Have you done that?
No, I've heard of doing that.
I'm going to do it all summer long.
Yeah.
I love that. I'd never done it before, and we did it, and I was like, oh my God, like, it's so simple and so satisfying.
Well, and I don't know if you like white wine, but you can always stick them in to keep it cold.
Right. Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, so what's the grade for Sunshine on a Stick?
I think I would give Sunshine on a Stick maybe a B.
I would say B minus.
Yeah.
Mostly for your reasoning. Yeah. It's not quick.
No, you need
it's not messy.
Even eating it is messy.
It's very messy.
Imagine trying to eat. Did you try either of these snacks, by the way?
No.
Time for timer snacks? No? I mean,
probably at some point when I was a child.
Probably wanted to, but never did. Imagine a little tiny toothpick.
Oh, no.
Right?
It would break.
With an ice cube, basically, essentially. It's not going to be easy to eat.
Maybe they made toothpicks stronger back then?
Maybe. Yeah, not to mention, I mean, it is a little bit dangerous, too. Like pointy ends for a kid.
Oh, my God. Christina, you know what? F. No, I'm kidding. No. But I did like Time for Timer. He's weird looking, but he's,
he was great.
He's very entertaining.
And those are the only 2 I remember from him.
Same.
So I don't know if he did more, but...
All right, now it's the really big question. More, less, about the same. Oh, God, I know. I know. I
hate to do this. I hate to do it.
It's less for me.
It's got to be less. It's got to be less. It's just too... I mean, it wasn't very consistent, actually.
The quality
between all of them.
Yeah.
Some of it was too much trying to learn. Some was too... It's just... I don't know. I just less for me. Less for me.
That sound you hear as my chair feels like it's about to break.
Oh my God.
It's really... I'm not even moving. The chair's making sounds. So yeah, I just wrote, I love them in theory, but it's at times so maddeningly repetitive.
Yes.
And they do speed through some of the most important parts.
Right.
So I can't recommend it in this day and age. I wrote, no wonder we're only kind of smart as a generation. Like, I feel like we know a tiny bit about everything. You know,
Yeah,
it's like, and I
Schoolhouse
blame
Rock.
Schoolhouse Rock.
Yeah, for sure.
Christina, I have an FMK.
Oh, good. Yeah,
That we
I
should
didn't
both
really
answer, yeah.
Yeah, let's just both answer. I didn't really create anything. I wasn't sure what we were going to do here, but...
All right, ready?
Okay.
FMK.
Oh, boy.
Time for Timer,
Mm-hmm.
Interplanet Janet, and the railroad operator at Conjunction Junction. What's your function?
All right,
here we go.
FMK. Let's see. All right, let's see.
Oh my god.
Well, this is going to be
Really saying
interesting. This is really, yeah. Okay.
Oh man, I feel bad. But here we go. Ding.
All right. Ding to me, too.
I don't think we're going to match. I have a weird feeling about this. I'm surprised at myself.
Yeah.
FMK. Who goes first?
I'll
You?
go.
Okay.
I'll go. All right. So I'm going to kill Conjunction Junction. Sorry, dude.
Okay.
He's just a big downer. I'm going to Time for Timer. I'm going to marry Interplanet Janet. She just seems so fun.
And also, she's never home.
She's
so
never
it'd be
home.
Very
That's
easy
true.
marriage.
But she seems like fun.
She's fun and
she'd
happy.
be upward vented.
She must have amazing stories.
Positive. Yeah.
I am also marrying Interplanet Janet.
Okay.
But this is where things take a turn. I can't imagine having sex with Time for Timer.
Well, I know, and I was having trouble with that too.
But at least the road operator is a human man. And
yeah.
I don't
Well,
know.
I would like to think that Time for Timer, he understands health. So maybe...
Does he look like he understands
No,
health?
he doesn't. I
He is
know he's
a
like
ball.
a cheese. I know he's a piece of cheese.
Cheese-loving ball.
So, yeah. I mean, it was a toughie. It was a toughie for me, but...
Oh my god. Well, guys,
Oh my God, so
listen.
much fun. Oh my god.
Disney Plus, if you want to revisit these, they're all on there.
Yeah,
and,
all of them. And I actually may end up... I might try to check out the more recent ones.
Well, the money thing
The
is
money
really interesting.
thing. I don't know about the computer stuff, but because that's
It's
probably pretty
probably-
dated now.
I would say it's probably instantly dated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll try. I might look at the money stuff and see what they have to say.
But, yeah.
But yeah, that was Schoolhouse Rock.
Yeah. And that's it for us and for this episode of Old Roommates.
Thank you for listening. Please remember to follow us on Instagram or YouTube, where we have our episodes as well as a little extra.
And if you have any questions about our show, any suggestions for movies we could revisit, reach out to us at oldroommatespod@gmail.com.
Thanks again for listening.
This is Brian.
And this is Christina. Until next time.